So let's start with the rookie. Mike, are we starting him here again in week 5?
Must start Anthony Richardson each and every week. And right now, he is averaging almost 23 fantasy points per game, and that is despite leaving in the first half in one of those games. He's thrown for at least 200 yards in both of his full games. He's a better passer than he gets credit for. Has an absolute laser for an arm. He is the goal line back. He's giving me early career Jalen Hurts vibes, where he can start off slow in a game and then still finish with over 20 fantasy.
The fourth quarter comeback was incredible. The Colts look like they have really found something in Anthony Richardson. A must start from Florio. We saw Trav and company get a win in London. Are you starting him for another game in London?
I am sitting Trevor Lawrence. And look, I saw your comments a couple weeks ago when I said to sit him, and you told me to get my clown makeup and all that. Trevor Lawrence right now is averaging 14.5 fantasy points per game and 1 passing touchdown per game. Plus, the Bills right now are top 2 in quarterback pressure and sack rate, but they blitz at the second lowest rate in the NFL. And they've also only allowed 3 passing touchdowns to 8 interceptions. Very tough defense right now. I would get away from Trevor Lawrence if you have another option.
Yeah, and if you would like to be mad at Michael F. Florio, clown emojis,
That's
anything, the angry expletive just be mad at Mike. But he keeps hitting these starts and sits regardless. There's a question of whether Joe Burrow should sit in real life. Would you sit him in fantasy, Mike?
I would sit him in real life and in fantasy right now. And I know he's going to be a popular name in a lot of sit him articles right now, but we've been telling you to sit him for a little bit here. Every Sunday, Joe Burrow managers are like, that's it. I'm never putting him back in my lineup again until he shows he's healthy. Then by like Wednesday, they're like, but this matchup looks really good. Yeah, he's still averaging less than 8 points per game, has 3 games without a touchdown. Until he looks like Joe Burrow, you got to sit him.
That's a struggle. Joe, get well soon. We would like to see you be more successful. Let's get to some running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs has been waiting. He's been flashing. Do you want to flash it on your fantasy team right now, Mike?
This one pains my heart, but no. I think you got to sit Jahmyr Gibbs. Look, right now on a per-touch basis, Gibbs clears Montgomery in yards per carry, yards before and yards after contact, explosive runs, and none of it matters. David Montgomery is getting all the volume. He is dominating goal line work. And against the Panthers this week, I think they'll be playing with the lead, which means they're just going to continue to ride David Montgomery in the second half. Until we see Gibbs do it, I think you got to sit him.
That's tough. Sit for Jahmyr Gibbs as we still wait to see how he's going to get more carries. And that's an offense that's good. Jets offense, maybe a little bit of life. Maybe Zach Wilson is good now. Mike, are we starting Breece Hall?
I don't know if Zach Wilson is good, but I know I want to start Breece Hall this week. Look, last week, Breece Hall led the Jets backfield in carries, routes, targets, and yards. And then Saleh came out today and said, no more training wheels on Breece Hall, no more snap count. And the Broncos, they've allowed over 100 more rushing yards than any other team. The most rushing touchdowns, they're in the top 2 in receiving yards and touchdowns to the position. The upside is far too high. Every running back against him has scored at least 22 fantasy.
He's back. Breece Hall carried you towards the fantasy playoffs last year. Maybe he can do it again here in 2023. Ramondre Stevenson, the whole Patriots offense did not look good in Dallas. Are we starting him this week, Mike?
I have a lot of Ramondre, but unfortunately, I'm going to try to sit him where I can. He is yet to run for 60 yards in a game. He has 10 receiving yards or fewer in every game since week 1, and that is really the pass game usage what propelled him to be an RB1 last year. Tough matchup against the Saints, but it's a game where the Patriots could be closer playing with the lead, and we saw in week 2 when they had a lead, they gave the ball to Zeke a whole lot. I understand you maybe don't have a better option, but if you have someone else you like, I think you got to sit Stevenson.
Yeah, we put a double sit on there. It's just not good. It's a double sit experiment for Ramondre Stevenson and New England Patriots. Again, we got more starts and sits, the wide receivers and tight ends coming up. But if you want more backs and quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins is a start, as is Jordan Love. Running backs, James Conner, Devon Achane. Sits for Brock Purdy and Russell Wilson. Najee Harris and Miles Sanders also getting sits. More starts and sits coming up. DJ Moore and the Bears, the offense is back. They weren't born ready, but they were ready last week. Are we starting him here in week 5?
We are starting DJ Moore, and even with the slow start for the Bears offense, DJ Moore has been really good for fantasy football. He's given you at least 13 fantasy points in 3 straight. He's averaging just under 19 per game in that span, and it is a good matchup. The Commanders have allowed the 6th most yards, but specifically the most yards and touchdowns on deep passes this year. And right now, Moore is on pace for a career high in passing yards, and that's with the Bears offense only just getting going. If you have DJ Moore, Moore, you should be feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah, number one option on this offense, and it's not even close. So starting DJ Moore. Go over to Christian Watson. Second week back now. Do we think he's involved more in the offense in the start?
Yeah, I 100% think he's going to get more run this week. I think he is a start that you want in your fantasy lineup. Last week, he caught a touchdown, gave you double-digit fantasy points despite playing less than half the snaps. Now, coming off the mini bye, I think he's going to be closer to a full go. You could expect some deep shots with him, and that's the thing. Even if he doesn't have a bunch of volume, he can win downfield and in the red zone, that's the best usage for a fantasy wide receiver.
Yeah, tied the defense for the lead in giving up touchdowns to wide receiver. Remember Christian Watson was scoring touchdowns every play? Maybe they get back.
Raiders allow the most to receivers, so
it could happen. Could we go 3 for 3 on wideouts? Are we starting Brandon Ayuk on Sunday Night Football?
We are starting the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL right now. He leads the 49ers in targets, catches, and receiving yards despite missing a game. He also leads the team in end zone targets. He is the deep threat on this offense as well. He is their wide receiver one. I know a lot of people, if you ask, would say Debo. No. It is Brandon Ayuk. Must start despite the tough matchup.
So this is our official NFL Fantasy Live. You got the rated line here. Brandon Ayuk is under it. Adjust your ratings because Brandon Ayuk is underrated to the masses, not here on this show. We'll leave Brandon Ayuk. We'll get to some tight ends. Tyler Higbee taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Are we starting?
I am starting Tyler Higbee, and I am starting him in place of Kyle Pitts in a bunch of my leagues this week. Yeah, that is exactly why I signed. Season high 11 targets last week. He has scored at least 11 fantasy points in 2 straight, and the Eagles have allowed the 7th most yards and 2nd most touchdowns to tight ends. You could do a lot worse at the position than Tyler Higbee. Just ask Kyle Pitts.
All right, so we'll leave that tight end. Can you do worse with the other tight end in the game, Dallas Goedert? Are we putting him on the bench? Or are we starting both of them?
This is one of the tight ends that Kyle Pitts has outscored this season, but I'm giving him one more chance in my fantasy lineup. I was all set to have him as a sit this week. Then I saw the matchup. The Rams struggle against tight ends. They've allowed a passer rating of 120 when that position has been targeted. But Nick Sirianni came out this week and said, we have to get Dallas Goedert the ball. We need to get him the ball. And I'm hoping we see a squeaky wheel sort of game where they emphasize throwing him the ball early on. But if he struggles in this week, then I think we need to get away moving forward.
Maybe it's a weekly thing. It's the win or go home game for a tight end 2 consecutive weeks. Dallas Goedert, you're next. If you disappoint Michael F. Florio, go to NFL.com/startsits, NFL.com/Florio to see this man's work. If you want to see more of it here on the show, smash start for Nico Collins and Adam Thielen. Darren Waller, still a start. Mike hasn't given up on Darren Waller yet. And Ferguson as well. The Cowboys start sits for Drake London, Cortland Sutton, Hunter Henry, and Chig Okonkwo.